Once a giant, always a giant. For me, it's only a giant.
What's going on YouTube? Diggy546. Let's get straight into this. No formal intro or anything. I wanted to do the first mock draft of this draft season. I usually am on like mock draft 3 or 4 by now, but I thought that I would crank out a mock draft for you all, at least at the beginning of April. We still have, I guess, like 3+ weeks left. So we got some time. And I was thinking I might go just to the Giants pick. I'll be looking at where the clock is as far as the time is. Once we get to the Giants pick, if it's outrageously long, then I'll stop it there. If not, then we'll go all the way to the end of the draft because the Eagles are picking 31 and they're in the division. So let's get straight to it. Let's hit select all. We're using PFN. I've been using PFN's draft simulator for a couple of years now. Pretty straightforward, same old, same old. And start this off with the Panthers. Let's not overcomplicate this. Again, we don't want to make this too long. CJ Stroud has been the guy. I'm forgetting the quarterback coach, not the offensive coordinator. I think it's Josh McCown, who's their offensive coordinator. He raved about CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud, in my opinion, is the best quarterback in this class. I've been saying that for months now. And it seems like the media, seems like the NFL is finally coming around. CJ Stroud is the best quarterback in the draft. So, no brainer here. I would take CJ Stroud with that #1 pick, and I think that's what they'll do. So, Stroud to Carolina. And now let's move on to the Texans. Same thing. Davis Mills, to me, hasn't gotten a fair shot, but he's also produced pretty well. You look at team needs, quarterback is #1 for them. Edge is #2. Some people think they could trade this, but I don't think they're going forward with Davis Mills. I just don't see it. Having a #2 pick and basically being able to say, like, for instance, if Bryce Young goes #1, you got CJ Stroud there. It's impossible for them to both be gone. But I really think being at #2, that they're going to go ahead and just take the best quarterback available, who I think could be worth this #2 overall pick, and Bryce Young. He's a short guy. He's, I think, over 200. So basically the same height and weight as Kyler Murray, and I think Bryce Young will be just fine. So Bryce Young to the Texans. So far, I'm not sure. I have not had my ears to the streets the same way that I usually do. I just haven't had my ears to the streets to think about what all these other teams are saying, their fan bases are saying, what they're looking for. But if I'm a Panthers or Texans fan, I'm pretty excited about getting a new quarterback. So speaking of Kyler Murray, who I just referenced, we got the Cardinals coming up, and Jalen Carter is a guy that's kind of falling down draft boards, and it is what it is there. That whole situation is really unfortunate, but he's still in play here in my mind. I think he kind of falls down still. So maybe a team like the Cardinals that may want him, maybe they trade back, but I don't think that they would take him anyway. You look at their team needs. Let's see, D-tackle was one of the needs, and I think Jalen Carter is the best player in this draft. But he just seems like he's falling down draft boards. I see him, after 7 in most of these mock drafts. So let's just go Will Anderson here. People, the NFL is kind of shifting towards a defensive tackle heavy defensive line as far as getting that pressure up the middle. With Dexter Lawrence on the Giants, he's about to get over 20 million. A ton of guys are. Aaron Donald is really changing the game in that way. But for right now, edge is still more valuable in my opinion. So Will Anderson, is he a generational edge? No, but I do think he will be a really, really good player. Now the Colts coming up. Everybody's been saying Will Levis for them. I think it has to be a quarterback. I mean, I think it's got to be a quarterback. So let's just send Will Levis there. It seems like that's been their guy from day one. I don't think that they would take Hendon Hooker there. They might not want to develop Anthony Richardson. So Will Levis, he needs to be developed a lot too. But it seems like they've been kind of connected to him for months, so I won't overthink it. So Will Levis at 4 to the Colts. The Seahawks coming up. This is where Anthony Richardson could be in play, but they just paid my man Geno. They just paid him, I think, for 2 or 3 years. I think maybe 2 years. But Geno is under contract. Now that does not mean that you don't take Anthony Richardson and let him sit under Geno for those 2 years. But let's look at some of their other needs to see if any player here warrants that draft pick. You got guard, you got edge. I don't think any edge should be going right here after Will Anderson. That's just my opinion. Um, you got corner, you got linebacker. I do think once you get to five, a guy like Christian Gonzalez is in the mix. I'm not sure if these are updated with free agency. It says last updated today. So I'm assuming that means it needs to. I'm pretty sure they did not bring in another competent corner. Now, you bring in a guy like Christian Gonzalez, you line him up across from Tariq Woolen. That is a tandem. That's a young elite cornerback tandem. So it's just really about, do you want to go all out with Geno Smith? Do you think you can win a Super Bowl with Geno Smith? Or do you see Anthony Richardson sitting out there, sticking out like a sore thumb and just pull the trigger there? So let's look again. Team needs, they say that they don't even have quarterback as a need. So PFN believes in Geno Smith. So I'll believe in Geno Smith and I'll make that decision. And that is, let's look at their needs one more time. I'm about to give them a corner. I don't see anything as far as, you don't take a guard this high. You're not going to take a receiver this high. You're not going to take a linebacker this high. So I'll go Christian Gonzalez. Again, I have not looked at a ton of mock drafts, but this is something that I would do if I was this team. So now we got the Lions, and I'm pretty sure this isn't their real draft pick. Let's see if they pick again. They pick again at 18. So this is someone else's draft pick, which makes sense. But the Lions are on the up and up, and at this point, they can just use good players. Their offense was a powerhouse. Their offense moved the ball up and down the field. Jared Goff is doing his thing, and they're saying quarterback is a need, but I think Jared Goff is really playing well. I think he's playing good football. Cornerback is a need for them too. Tight end is a need, but you're not taking Michael Mayer anywhere close to this high. Safety. Same old, same old. I wish I could just look at their roster because I feel like there's always a need there that thing that people aren't highlighting. JSN, I wouldn't take this high. They have him as their number one ranked receiver. I just wouldn't take him this high coming off that hamstring. But yeah, I would not take a wide receiver this high at this point, and I just don't see the value there. I just took a look at their needs, and this could just be a pick that they would want to trade. So after some deliberation, as much as it hurts because I want as many of those corners to be there for the Giants at 25, I'm going to have to take Devon Witherspoon here because I'm not doing trades, and it just makes too much sense for the Lions. Some people might say it's too high for them, for Gonzalez and Witherspoon, but I just think they're such great players. I would go ahead and do it. So Witherspoon are there. Now we got the Raiders coming up. Taking a look at the Raiders' needs. Tackle is a guy. Tackle is a need. Defensive tackle. This is where Jalen Carter is in play. Corner is in play. You're not taking a guard this high. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at Paris Johnson Jr. Also, Peter Skoronski is a guy that could be a tackle, but he could be a guard. I think he's a top 15 player. It's just, is it at tackle or is it at guard? I think right now at 7, with the shot of him being a good tackle, you could swing that. You could swing that if he becomes a guard. Then, you took a player that at worst could flex out to tackle in a pinch. So he's on the board here, in my opinion. But I'm going to go ahead and just keep it safe and take Paris Johnson Jr. and hope that he can prevent Jimmy G from missing 12 games this year. So I'm going to send him to the Las Vegas Raiders. Now you got the Falcons coming up. And before I even take a look at their needs, I'm thinking if they're going forward with Desmond Ridder, who I'm pretty sure is their quarterback, because Corral went to the Panthers. So Desmond, if they're going forward with Ridder, and what are their needs here? They don't even have quarterback as a need because they're going forward with Ridder. So if they're going forward, again, with Desmond Ridder, I think they have to give him some support. I think they've they've got Kyle Pitts. He's not gone anywhere yet, so you got some weapons for him, but you definitely got to give him some protection. And I think I'm going to go right back to Skoronski because at the very worst, he's a guy that will end up being a guard, and you need a guard. So sending Skoronski to the Falcons, let's keep it moving. Now with the Bears in play, things get tricky. Again, as a Giants fan, things get tricky because they could go edge. That's possible. They could go Jalen Carter. They could go offensive tackle. I think at this point I wouldn't go tackle with what's on the board, but they could also go wide receiver. And it's just really about how much they appreciate this wide receiver core. Now, they don't really have much to write home about. And if they don't get a guy, they're not really helping out their quarterback a lot. So you got to think that they want to get a wide receiver or a tight end. Maybe they think they can help them, help them out with a tight end, but you wouldn't do that this high either. But looking at these wide receivers, I don't want to take one off the board for the Giants. If I had to pick a receiver that would go this high, it would be Quentin Johnson because I just don't believe in him as a wide receiver, and I want the best wide receivers left when the Giants are picking. But Jordan Addison is the best receiver in this class. Could be JSN from what I've seen so far on tape. It's between those two, and you got to think you have to get as safe as possible because Justin Fields is going into year 3 now, and he has not had a receiving core. So you could go receiving core. You could go with the best player on the board, best player in the draft, in my opinion, with Jalen Carter. You could go with him. And then some guys like Tyree Wilson and some guys like Miles Murphy. So I think this gives them a ton of directions to go. But I just think when I watched the Bears last year, I saw a quarterback run around for his life, which makes me want to address the offensive line. But I don't see a player that I say really needs to go this high on the offensive line. So I'm going to take who I believe is the best receiver in this draft, and that's Jordan Addison. And it hurts as a Giants fan. It hurts. It hurts. So before I make this pick, I'm going to think about who the Bears offensive coordinator is. But Jordan Addison fits pretty much every scheme. So I'm going to send Jordan Addison to the Bears regretfully. Hopefully this doesn't happen in real life. And then you got the Eagles. You got the Eagles coming up. So the Eagles lost C.J. Gardner-Johnson. And I said Johnston, but Johnson. They lost him. There's no safety that you're taking this high. You could take a corner here and throw him in the slot because you don't have that dominant slot corner. And you got 2 corners who are kind of getting up there in age. You're paying both of them. Do you want to use more resources there? But you also have disaster scenario here. You also have the disaster scenario where Jalen Carter is sitting there and he's the best player on the board and you're picking 31. Why not take the best player in the draft? And he's here at 10 because of his off-field issues. And again, he could very well go before this, but in my draft, he fell to 10. So looking at their needs, D-tackle is their 4th need. Do you want to go Miles Murphy or do you want to go Jalen Carter? They're going to go Jalen Carter. So that's a no-brainer pick for the Eagles. Value pick, this is going to have the analysts, throwing a party saying that, the rich get richer and all of that. He fell into their laps. So Tennessee Titans coming up. And I wonder if they have quarterback as a need for them. They're still rolling with Tannehill. Malik Willis is still waiting in the wings. We'll see what's going on with that. But they don't have quarterback as a need so far. Anthony Richardson is still on the prowl. But again, I don't think they would take Anthony Richardson and have Malik Willis. They got to develop Malik Willis up. So tackles there, centers there, wide receivers there, guard, edge. I think it's about time we take Tyree Wilson, who I think is probably your second best edge. I think we take Tyree Wilson here and keep it moving for the Titans. They could have gone in a lot of different situations, but for now we'll stay edge. So let's do some more scrolling down here. And the Texans are back here, back on the board. And who did they go? They went Bryce Young at number 2. And again, this pains me, but I'm getting ready to give Bryce Bryce Young a wide receiver because I think it just fits so well to get your quarterback and your wide receiver. Um, you're not taking any of these guards this high. You're not taking Torrance this high. You see, even PFN has him ranked 49th. You're not taking any of those guys this high. So you have the choice of either trading back or you have the choice of staying pat and taking a wide receiver. So JSN is the best wide receiver on the board, in my opinion. But I just think that for some reason, Quentin Johnston is going to pique the interest of somebody. The guy jumps 20 feet off the ground. He runs a 4.4, low 4.4, but when I say low, I mean towards 4.49. He runs that, but that's very fast for a guy his size. And he's just a big, fast wide receiver who can move pretty well for his size. But I don't like how he catches the ball. He catches the ball a lot with his body. He does not use that frame the way you would want him to. He did it in the combine where he went up, caught the ball with two hands, but in the game, he just goes up and catches it. You know, he might as well be 6 feet. He might as well be 5'11" because he does not use that height. So doesn't play like a big receiver all the time. But I kind of feel like somebody, and if it would be anybody, sorry, Texans fans, if it would be anybody, it would be the Texans. So for my sake, for my sanity, to have a shot at taking JSN, to have a shot, I'm going to give them Quentin Johnston. And listen, he could very well become a very good player. But I just think that somebody in the top 15 or the top 20 is going to give him a shot because of his physical ability. And they're going to have to coach some good tendencies into him. So Quentin Johnston at 12. Let's keep it moving. And we're already 20 minutes in. Now at 13 for the Jets, I would just make this very simple, and I would just take Broderick Jones. He's the value is there. It's not ridiculous value, but the value is there. He's a tackle. I think he can come in and start. We'll see how he plays, but I think he can come and start year one. So they need a tackle. There's question marks there. You know you got Mekhi back then. Guy goes out a lot. We'll see how it goes. So Broderick Jones to the Jets, and let's keep it moving with the Pats. And the Pats got Mac Jones. Joe Judge cooked him up for dinner, destroyed his career, just as I thought he would. Sadly, he went there, and now you could have a situation where they're looking to take a quarterback. Now, I don't think it'll happen. I think Bill Belichick kind of saw that, and he's giving Mac Jones another chance. But wide receivers at the top of their list, cornerbacks there, linebacker, edge, and looking at the big board here. Again, Anthony Richardson, he's a number 6 prospect here. That's tough. That's tough. But Miles Murphy, doesn't Miles Murphy doesn't it just sound like a Patriots player? Miles Murphy, it just sounds like a Patriots player. At least when Tom Brady was there. You wouldn't be surprised to hear a guy named Miles Murphy coming off the edge in the playoffs and making a sack. So I'll send Miles Murphy there and save Mac Jones, somebody. Hopefully they get Mac Jones some more help besides that. But for now, do I think they should take a receiver? Yes. Is Bill Belichick going to take a good receiver in the first round? Absolutely not. He's just not going to do it. Packers. Aaron Rodgers is gone. He's gone. He's gone. He's got to be gone, right? He's got to be gone. So Aaron Rodgers is gone. Jordan Love is there, waiting in the wings. They got quarterback is the 5th best need. But Jordan Love, I'm going to give him a shot. Say he's going to do well this year. You got to look to wide receiver. I can't name any wide receiver that I really think is going to be a difference maker there. So who's the perfect wide receiver in this draft to give to the Packers? To give to basically a rookie quarterback because he's going to be his first time playing in a season. It's got to be JSN. He's going to find all those spots in the zone. He's going to be all over it. So it's got to be JSN. So easy pick for me. Easy pick for me. He's going to make life a lot easier for Jordan Love as a rookie, even though it's like his 4th year as a rookie quarterback. So Washington coming up. Now, I remember clearly. Ron Rivera saying that Lamar Jackson just doesn't fit his style of quarterback. So I don't understand what that means because the guy's a Pro Bowler, the guy's an MVP, but Washington needs a dang quarterback. They need a quarterback, and Anthony Richardson is there. You just paid a guy a bunch of money to come over from Kansas City and be your offensive coordinator, who everybody thinks at the very least is going to be a good player. Um, who's going to play quarterback? Who's going to play quarterback for the Washington Commanders? Why is quarterback not a need? Are you going forward with Sam Howell? Are you? Because if you are, I mean, I'll just move on. But I would take Anthony Richardson there. You got a guy with all the tools in the world. You got a genius at offensive coordinator. At least we think he's a genius. So we'll see if he can do it. But from what I've seen so far in Washington, he looks like he's going to be a guy. And this would scare me to see Eric Bieniemy come to Washington and have Anthony Richardson at his disposal. But it looks like they might stay forward with Sam Howell. So let's come back to the real world. Let's not talk about what makes sense. Let's talk about what they'll actually do. So cornerback is a high need for them. Linebacker, I'm not taking any of those linebackers this high. You got defensive tackle as a need. Brian Breesy is a guy. I'm pretty sure don't they have Jonathan Allen, and why do they have defensive tackle as a need? They just gave Deron Payne the franchise tag. They gave him the franchise tag. So I don't understand what that is. So I'm not taking a defensive tackle. That's not a need for them. It can't be. Guard is a need for them, but again, none of these guys are guards. Let's see, corner, linebacker. For some reason, I'm just looking at this and it's just screaming. Trenton Simpson could be a sleeper pick because I think a lot of people fall in love with his athleticism. Same thing with Drew Sanders, who they've got all the way at 43. But I think this is a good spot for another corner. You got the local guy, Deonte Banks. I'm not sure if Deonte Banks is actually from Maryland, but went to Maryland. Joey Porter Jr. is probably your best player on the board right now. I like Cam Smith a lot, and it looks like PFN is one of the few places that agrees with me. But Washington, I would take the quarterback, man. I would take the quarterback. But let's give them Joey Porter Jr., who's going to this is definitely going to hurt the hearts of Pittsburgh Steelers fans who wanted Joey Porter Jr. and was one pick away from getting them. So I think that helps Washington out. I still think they need a quarterback, but maybe they'll be picking one next year. So the Steelers on the clock. Joey Porter Jr. is gone. They are sad. They're distraught. It is what it is. So they're not getting Joey Porter Jr. They're going to keep forward with Kenny Pickett. I think that makes a lot of sense. Brian Breesy is a good player. I'm not sure what their needs are at D tackle. I think did Cam Hayward retire? I cannot remember what their entire situation there is, but they're not saying that's a problem for them. So the Steelers, man, you could go a lot of different directions. You might be able to give them. Let's see what their needs are again. Steelers. Yeah, I keep seeing edge as a need, cornerback as a need. Would I just take a corner just blindly? I mean, I think the value's there, but I just don't see. Let's see. Deonte Banks, Cam Smith, Ringo, I think are your 3 first-round cornerbacks, and I think Ringo is a borderline first-rounder. Emmanuel Forbes is a borderline first-rounder. I think they're really angry that Joey Porter moved, and I think they might consider trading back to get the corner because I think after Cam Smith here, I think there's a drop-off. But I also think that the best player on the board may be, for them, may be an edge. I like Foskey a lot. I'll give him Foskey. Some Steelers fans might say I'm ridiculous and they might want Cam Smith, but I'll give him Foskey because I see some people that don't like Cam Smith as a round 1 cornerback. So for now, let's move on to the Lions, and they're taking their second pick, their actual pick, their 18th overall pick. We gave them Devon Witherspoon first. They got all the weapons in the world. Let's look at their needs again. Is this high for Brian Branch? I think so. I just think it's high for safety in general. I mean, safety always goes in the 20s. I think this could be a spot for Drew Sanders. I think this could be a spot for Drew Sanders. And Anthony Richardson, by the way, is falling people. I think somebody would trade up for him around this time if he fell here, especially. But let's just bolster this defense as best we can. Your best pure linebacker here is Jack Campbell. Trenton Simpson maybe could be that, but Jack Campbell I know could be that. And I think Jack Campbell is well worth the 18th pick in the draft because I think he's going to be solid from day one. I think he's going to be in the right areas. I think he is quicker than people give him credit for, and I think he'll be able to cover like a banshee in the NFL. And I think people will be wondering why they didn't give him more respect in this prospect, in this progress, in this process of the draft. So let's send Jack Campbell to the Lions. You get yourself a corner, you get yourself a middle linebacker, you get better. You could double up at corner, if me being honest, I would. But now we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Buccaneers had to blow everything up. Tom Brady's retired. Quarterback is your top need. I don't even know if you even go quarterback. Would you go Hendon Hooker because you want a quick thing? Would you go Anthony Richardson? I would hate this for him because this is not the position that you want to be running into this deep. And you just don't want to be running to this team on the Buccaneers. You don't want to be drafted to this roster in this space right now, following right behind Tom Brady. You just don't want that. But he is an exciting quarterback prospect. And quarterback is definitely their number one need. I mean, other than that, who are you going to suit up with? You got to suit somebody up. So I don't think this is a good fit for anybody involved. But I think you just have to do it if he's here. So let's send Anthony Richardson to the Buccaneers. And now the Seahawks could have possibly gotten Anthony Richardson at 20 if the Bucs didn't take him at 19. I'm sure they're punching the air, but Geno Smith, I think, is going to be good for at least the short term. And maybe you go Hendon Hooker, but you don't want Hendon Hooker to sit. He's already getting up there in age. So the Seahawks here, would they go running back? Would they take a running back there? I'm not sure with their complete running back situation. They do have a running back that's a monster, I'm pretty sure. So I'll leave that alone for now. But guard is in play here. Edge is there. Wide receiver, cornerback. And I think, do they really need wide receiver help? Let's look at what's there for edge. Nolan Smith is a guy that people are going to overdraft. Why not do it here? Cornerback, Cam Smith. Wide receiver, you got Jalen Hyatt. You got Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers, to me, is the only wide receiver left that is a first-round wide receiver that you can justify as a first-round wide receiver, in my opinion. I don't think they're taking a wide. Why would they take a receiver here? What I'm going to do is, I think Pete Carroll is just going to love this guy. Let's see if they have a need at D tackle. I think Brian Breesy will be gone by this point too. But I'm just going to say that Pete Carroll loves this guy. I think he'll love both of these guys. Drew Sanders, Trenton Simpson. Out of those two, I think the more sure thing is Drew Sanders, and Trenton Simpson to me has a lot of things he needs to clean up. And I think Drew Sanders will fit in immediately. So now let's look at the Chargers. Zay Flowers could be in play right here. He could be in play right here. And I think I'm going to go ahead and take him off the board here. And then the Ravens, we don't know where Lamar Jackson is going to be playing. It seems like it won't be for the Ravens. So I was going to send Anthony Richardson there, but he's gone. If for some reason Lamar Jackson is gone, they're going to be taking Hendon Hooker. You got to think they would. If he's not gone, then you got to get him some wide receivers. But there's not a wide receiver that you would want to take here. So you got to go back to the well, and you got to give him a corner because that's just the best value right here. Cam Smith off the board, and this stinks as a Giants fan. I hate it. I really don't like the fact that all of the corners that I liked, that I loved, are off the board, and all the receivers that I loved are off the board. And now you got the Vikings, And the Vikings need a corner. I don't even know why I pulled up their needs. I know for a fact they need a corner. Being a Giants fan, we destroyed them 2 games. I mean, basically 2 games within a couple of weeks of each other. We carved their secondary up, and our passing attack was not that. It just wasn't that type of a passing attack. They're saying they need wide receiver, sure, after Justin Jefferson, who's there, but they can address that later on in the draft. They need a corner in the worst way. Now, Ringo is he's your top guy as far as like he could be a Pro Bowler, he could be an All Pro, he could be amazing. Deonte Banks could be an All Pro, he could be amazing. And this guy pulling up his stats, as far as when I say his stats, I mean his weight and height. 6'2", 205 is nothing to sneeze at. Ringo, another guy, 6'2", 205 is nothing to sneeze at. So these are two big corners that I think could help them out. And I think the better player is Deonte Banks, but Ringo has so much potential. But I don't think the Vikings can afford to play around with potential people. So let's go ahead and take Deonte Banks and move on to the Jaguars pick. And the Jaguars they need a corner too. And this could be a spot for Ringo, for Emmanuel Forbes to go. They need a corner. They do. But what I'm going to do is they brought back Evan Ingram. I don't know why. They're saying the tight end is a need. You don't need 2 amazing tight ends or 2 really good tight ends. Looking at the offensive line, Smits is a guy that you could smidge and try to put him at guard, but he's a center. Avila is a guy that I would see as a second rounder. Torrance, I don't really like, and that's why you don't see me taking these guys. I just don't like the offensive line class that much this year. But looking back at their needs, I think you got to just go ahead and take Brian Branch. I think you just take Brian Branch. Let's see what Brian Breezy's a guy that's falling, and I'm just looking for a place for him to go. And I think you probably get better value here with Breesy than you would for Brian Branch. So I am going to take Breesy off the board here just because I think he's well overdue to go off the board. And Bijan Robinson should be a top 10 pick, but he's a running back, so we see how that goes. Number 25, New York Giants, and I think I'm going to end it here because we're at 38 minutes. I got to edit this down. But right now we're at 38 minutes, so we're not going all the way to 30, 32 or 31. So with the Giants pick, we got Ringo on the board. That excites me. We got Brian Branch, could be an exciting player for us. Yes, we have a couple of solid players back there. Undrafted guys, guys that can step up. But Brian Branch, I think, is going to be better than those guys. Ringo is a guy. Nolan Smith, I already mentioned Ringo, but Nolan Smith is a guy that you could consider as that third edge rusher. He's just there. He's that super athlete. And Bijan Robinson. Saquon Barkley has not signed that tag yet. It's not confirmed that he's going to show up to camp and all that stuff. So all of these people are in play. You also look at this and you got John Michael Schmitz on the board. And John Michael Schmitz he's a center, and the Giants need a center in the worst way. And let's see what they say our needs are. They don't even have center as a need for us, and we don't even have a center on the roster, people. This shows you how much they know. But corner is that big need for us. Center is the big need. Safety is a need, but you can kind of smidge through it. But I'm kind of tempted to take Bijan Robinson, but I don't think that's the best thing to do. So let's take. We don't have a center on the board, man. But I just got to swing for the fences, and I got to take Kelee Ringo. So the reason I took Kelee Ringo is because we have Jerome Henderson, who I think is a premier defensive backs coach in this league, who I think can really get the best out of a player. He's going to struggle. He has a ton of technique issues he's going to have to get fixed. But I think if anybody can do it, it's him, it's Wink, and it's Adoree Jackson being in there. And hopefully Kelee Ringo can come in and be that dominant press corner for the Giants. I think he has all the potential in the world. So the Giants get Kelee Ringo. The guys I left on the board were Bijan Robinson, John Michael Schmitz. Some people like Hyatt, some people like Josh Downs. But I think that all in all, that's the decision I decided to go in. That's the direction I decided to go in. And the Giants leave with Keely Ringo. So I'm going to wrap the video up right here. You guys let me know what you think of that pick. If you made it this deep into the video, come on, just hit the subscribe button. I make Giants content primarily, draft content secondarily, and during the season, I'm going to be doing a lot of reacting to pretty much most of the NFL games and everything NFL. So if you made it this deep, go ahead and join the D6 squad.